on the Paint by Big Country Equipment.
Welcome to another episode of That's Hard on the Paint by Big Country Equipment. Today's guest is Sterling Fryar. Great name, by the way.
Yeah, 2 Sterlings and a Harrison.
I'm outvoted.
Man, thanks for coming on our little podcast and, just start off kind of tell us who you are and your background and.
So, Sterling Fryar. I'm a commercial farm and ranch appraiser, broker, property tax consultant, investor, kind of a little bit of everything in the real estate. It's all I've ever known. It's all I've ever been good at.
Where are you from?
I'm born and raised here in San Angelo. Went to A&M, spent a little too much time there, and then moved back. Met my wife in College Station, moved back, and we've been here since 2010. So,
is it mostly residential or ranch real estate, commercial real estate?
As far as what I do, mainly commercial farm and ranch. My wife, I have a team of 5-6 people. They handle most of the residential. But whenever it gets into the farm and ranch stuff, that's kind of my specialty.
Now, you grew up ranching, agriculture's background.
Correct.
And cattle, sheep, goats, what
yes.
was it? All of it? All the above?
Horses, all the things.
The goats were your favorite, huh?
Goats were my favorite. The dumber, the better.
So
go ahead, Harrison.
So in real estate, we've seen an election. We saw that real estate had dropped numbers. People weren't really buying before elections, which is pretty common. Now that the election's over, do you see it being more prominent now? Or?
Yes. Since the election, it seems like everybody's attitude, just outlook on life in general, especially in our part of the world, it was a bit of a relief in understanding where we're going or could go, and whatever way you politically lean, it doesn't, whenever it comes to real estate, we need buyers and we need sellers. And people weren't buying or selling. 2024 was rough. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think our business was down 60%.
So are we going to see, going into 25 and the next 4 years, are we going to see land prices on a rise? Or are we going to see kind of stay level on land prices? Or you see
historically, and I say historically, but say the last 3 years, even in a down economy, we've still seen price increases. We may see longer days on market, which we have seen, and that was the trend for 24. We've recently started seeing price reductions, and I feel like some of these new agents that came in 2021, 2022, it's like, hey guys, this is what a price reduction looks like. And people are actually having to work, which is not a lot of fun for some people.
Yeah. They're not taking bids and they're just running with the first
Correct.
bid. Yeah.
No, we're not. There's still some multiple offer situations, but by and large, we're back to standard negotiation and, come to terms with both buyer and seller willing to accept.
So us being in what would be considered short-term finance, we've seen rates kind of drop and then kind of go back up. Mm-hmm. We saw that short-term financing is a little bit safer for banks right now, where long-term financing, they don't really quite know what's going to happen.
Sure.
Or is that what you're seeing in the real estate?
Not really. The rates, there was this big hope that in June 25 we would see a rate decrease, and now the new reports that are out are saying we're not going to see a decrease. It'll hopefully remain flat, but our 52-year average on an interest rate on a 30-year fixed is, I think, 7.52. So, you have the people that have bought houses or properties in the 80s, and they'll tell you, whenever I bought my first house, it was 13%. And we thought it was a deal. Mm-hmm. And so, we have this recency bias with the 3% and the 2% and everything. I mean, personal opinion, I don't think we will ever see that in our lifetime. Yeah.
I hope not. That's like, the older folk stories, walking uphill both ways kind of deal.
Yeah.
I also think it was probably less to purchase a house, even with the 13% interest rates. But when you were growing up, was real estate something that you wanted to do? Did you know that's the business you wanted to be in?
I had no idea. Whenever I went to A&M, I got in for agriculture economics, and then I backtracked to general studies. And at A&M, you can only be in general studies for 2 years, and then you got to declare a major. Like, you got to grow up.
That's no fun.
Shocker.
Yeah.
And so my mom's best friend, or one of her best friends, is a real estate appraiser out of Navasota. and she met up with us for dinner. She started talking about appraisal and the research process and all the things that go into an appraisal. And I was like, man, that sounds interesting to me. So I get back in agriculture economics, focus in finance and real estate, and I start taking real estate classes. And people laugh whenever I tell them this. It's one of those deals where you walk in and you're just good at it, and you go, why are y'all having problems with this? It clicked for me. And I wish that would have worked for like engineering or something like that. But here we are. But no, I mean, I had no idea. So I started in appraisal. I'm 17 years in. Spent a lot of long nights at the office and getting better and getting faster at that. And then I needed 21 hours to get my ring. And so I took real estate classes at Blinn that counted towards my hours. And so I got my real estate license while I was in college and got my ring and all the things. And it wasn't until we moved back that I really started looking at the brokerage side of things. And that's a lot of fun. Appraisal's great. I'm a data-driven person, but the sales, you get to deal with different people, different personalities, good or bad. The behavioral economic side of things is fascinating to me. How does somebody react to something? And that makes it fun every single day. It's something different every day.
That's the deal that wakes you up in the morning and you're looking forward to work.
Absolutely.
Was there a point in the beginning or the middle where you were in your journey as a professional where you're like, I don't know if I want to keep doing this, or has it just been a continual rise throughout your career?
I don't know. I've never, because it's always made sense to me. I've never, there's been times whenever I'm up at the office till 4 a.m. and sleeping on a cot in the office. I'm going, man, I don't know, but I'm glad I didn't quit.
Right.
Talking to my mom, 6 o'clock in the morning, going, what am I doing? She's like, you just got to spend your time in the barrel and then it gets better. And I don't know how many times she's told me that.
Really?
I'm waiting for it to get better.
It will.
That's so cool.
It's a big barrel.
Every guest we've had on, when we ask a question kind of similar to that, pretty much the common response is the family support that it takes to build a business and then be successful at it after the fact.
Absolutely.
So I think it's inspiring for people to hear that whenever they might be at a low point in their business or maybe doubting themselves.
And you got to surround yourself with people, not just family, but your friends too.
Exactly.
You got to be able to, our big thing is share your wins. And that's so cliche, but it's not a brag. It is a win, and you should be able to text your friends, your best friends, and say, hey, I won today. I got this.
It's so ironic that you said that because a few weeks ago, we went on to another podcast as guests, and a gentleman rented like a big Airbnb and for his family and stuff. And it was a few hours away from here, and he's like, hey, since y'all are coming to be on the show, right after we recorded, he had a 1-year party for his podcast, right?
Nice.
And he had a lot of success with it and stuff. And there was a bunch of people at the house that came, from all over the state, right? And this one gentleman and his wife came from Tennessee.
Wow.
Right? And I said, Tennessee? And he'd never even met this guy before, right? He's just a fan. And he had been messaging him on Facebook and stuff. And he was actually kind of in the real estate business. He was like a commercial developer.
Gotcha.
And I said, man, I got to know, what encouraged you to fly across the country to go support a guy you've never met before? And he goes, you got to celebrate people's wins.
Absolutely.
He's like, this is a big deal. I love what this guy's doing. And I thought that was so impressive. But that phrase, celebrate wins, I think a world constantly filled with negativity, whether you're a starting entrepreneur or you have a current business, and there's a lot of hate out there in the world. So the little wins and celebrating them, I think those are extremely important.
And I'm all for competition. Don't get me wrong, but cooperation comes into play too. Everybody's got competitors. Everybody wants to make that sale, everything. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, I mean, you need to be able to go hang out with these people and have a drink or whatever with them and look them in the eye. And I mean, if they win, they win. That's great.
Yeah,
it's not hurting you. And that was honestly my mindset turning over to 25 because 24 was rough. I mean, it was bad. And it was like, you know what? We're going to eliminate the negativity. We're going to, celebrate. We're going to, and so far just changing that mindset. And obviously the real estate market's done better, but it just felt like just that mental shift. And you go, okay, everything's going to be fine. We're going to get through this. And, especially in small towns, with brokerages and things like that, people talk. And so I will have agents from other brokerages call and talk, and we're bouncing ideas off of each other. And I mean, that's what we need more of because, whenever you start fighting and everything, it doesn't help anybody.
Well, we had to learn, mostly me, Sterling kind of figured it out earlier than I did, but be friends with your competitor.
Absolutely.
Because you're going to go to your competitor. They might be older than you. They might come from a heritage of something, and being able to ping that off of and go, hey, I know you didn't get this deal, but what are some tips that I can do to close it, or how can I make more money, or how can I save this guy money, whatever it may be. And having that relationship with competitors where when I got in business and then Sterling came in and kind of critiqued what I was doing, which was a good thing, but I was like, no competitor. I'm not going to be friends with any competitors, or they're the enemy. And I was wrong, because they gave us a lot of opportunity because they might have something that you want, or they might have some advice that would help you in your business.
Right.
And then you start building a relationship with them.
And a lot of it is they could offer something that your customer needs.
Right.
Your customer will only want to deal with you, but your competitor has a product that they need. So, yeah, I mean,
you got to check the ego sometimes.
Yeah, throw the pride over the shoulder and keep going. Going back to your wins, do you have any specific transactions or sales in your time that were like kind of brought you up to the next level, or were just like and you don't have to be specific about it, but
there's been a few deals that have been so difficult that when you get them to the finish line, it is just it's this monkey off your back. I mean, this huge weight, but then you're like, hell yeah, I got it done. There was one up north of San Angelo, and it had a bunch of oil wells on it. The Railroad Commission was coming in and saying they all needed to be plugged, and navigating the minefield, literal minefield of all these wells that need to be plugged on this big ranch with a ton of water that has wind potential, a bunch of different avenues. And I'm sitting there having to, basically learn on the fly. But, we got it done, and we're at the closing table, and it's just like, oh, wow, that was cool. And I've had a few like that. And every time there's hard ones, there's easy ones. We always want the easy ones, right? The guy that comes in or the lady that comes in and says, oh, I'll pay you $2 million cash for that. Cool. What, can you close in 10 days? Heck yeah, let's go.
Well, I think Einstein said it best, is there's a difference between education and experience.
Yep.
And you can read about it all you want, and you'll never, if you never experience it, then you'll never be refined at it.
Right.
And that's a thing that, as an entrepreneur, you got to figure out, like you said, learning on the fly, but being educated in it and learning how to experience in it in the right manner.
Well, and every battle makes you stronger too. And It's even that more rewarding when you are in the midst of a battle, and when you come through it, it just gives you that much more confidence as a person and a businessman to handle that next thing. And
I'll add to the cliche and say, every time you fail, it's an opportunity to learn. And it's an opportunity to grow.
Those are expensive education.
I had a very expensive education 3 weeks ago. And
really?
I will say, one thing that I tell agents, you have to be honest. Don't skirt it. And if you mess up, 17 years into the business,
Yeah.
if you mess up, you better own it.
Well, I like to say that with us, our morality has no purchase power. Like it's not for sale.
Right.
Right. And so when we go into business, we're going in as honest individuals that if we make a mistake, we're going to go fix that mistake.
Absolutely.
And when you do it right as a business owner, and it takes, our dad always told us 10 years. It takes 10 years to build a book of business. And what that is, it's not all the people that you know. It's not all the people that think you have a good deal. It's the people that know that you're going to stand behind whatever you're doing.
Well, it's consistency, right?
Yes.
Being consistent with vendors, being consistent with your customers, and then just as a consistent person, I think.
Absolutely.
And if your model of consistency is good, then I think you'll be successful in whatever you're doing. So,
What was one that y'all had? I mean, it doesn't even have to be a mistake.
like a big win or a big a big learning experience.
Either.
I think we're in the middle of a learning experience right now.
Would you like to expand on that?
I'll get back to you in 30 days.
Yeah, I'll be like the city. I'll get back to you in a month.
Yeah.
Need to go in executive session.
Shoot, I'll tell you. I mean, what is one? I would say, I'm a big proponent of. I like to feel like I know everything before. Like I want to be confident in the product before I go advertise that we'll or a service. I want to feel confident in the service before we go advertise it, right?
Okay.
And sometimes like that can be tied to being risk averse, right? And so one of the big experiences that I learned personally early on is that I think we missed out on making some money in some areas earlier on because I didn't want to take the chance.
Sure.
Because I felt like or maybe not Harrison, but I felt like I wasn't ready. And I can look back and say, well, maybe I missed out on some money or maybe we missed out on some growth for our business. But so that's a mistake. I feel like we were there. We just didn't take the next move.
Ignorance is bliss, and I was quite blissful.
Yeah, I mean,
fair enough.
We used a lot of there's another one. I mean, pre-COVID, 2018, 2019, I wish we would have used some of our funds to purchase real estate then, right? Because in 2019, 2018 was a really hard year, first year in business. 2019 was, an upward trend for us. And I don't think anyone expected COVID to happen and really what it did to markets. But looking back, it's like, damn, we should have just bought 5 acres somewhere. I should have bought whether it's business wise or your personal, I should have bought a house in 2019 versus, and the effects of COVID. And even in 2020, we should have done a real estate deal in 2020.
Absolutely. Or at least invested in the stock market.
Or I should have done something. And I thought, this COVID deal ain't going to be, whatever. And then it just got worse and worse and worse. And interest rates were low. And real estate was soaring. And the prices were just increasing. And I was like, I don't have to wait forever now. And then the interest rates went up,
Yeah.
And so, yeah. So, I mean, it's hard to read the future, but those, business-wise, those were mistakes.
I'm Sterling.
I'm Harrison.
And this is Hard on the Paint by Big Country Equipment.